Show my recorder. So we're going to be working at C-7 in the blue, and then the vertebrae right below it, T-1, T-2. So thoracic vertebrae 1 and 2, or just that general area. So I've been kind of thinking of, like, right now, especially in this world of everybody's on live stream, you know, what makes us as individuals special in the studio? And it's easy for us and myself to look at other people and say, I want that, or I want to be like that. And for like Morgan, she's really good at just intuitively understanding philosophy. And Michelle is like dynamic in the body, and she's hilarious. And so everybody has these little givers, these gives, these qualities. And for me, it's really easy for me to teach the body. But it's something that I keep on running, like, how about philosophy? Or how about, you know, and it's like, how about I just hone in on what I'm good at? And that is teaching you how your body moves and letting you get into your body and really picture it. So I'll start to, I hope, work on my value, bringing that out and allowing you to understand your body better. Okay, so I'm gonna mute everybody. If you have anything comes up. Hold on a second. Julie, did you have a question? Okay, good. I mean, not good. I would have answered it. Okay, we're all set to go here. All right, so we'll start it seated. Last night, if you were in class, I did invite you to get your blocks and just offer up a little bit of prop, because we are going to be here for a little bit of time. And even though you don't necessarily need it, it's just something to allow you to settle into so the rest of the body can stay here for a little bit longer, okay? So as we are here, let's go ahead and just take one hand and place it to the area right at your occiput. So where the neck and the head meet, that's the beginning of your cervical spine, right? And then notice how it dips in as it goes down and connects into the shoulders. So it dips in, you've got 7 vertebrae there. And then it dips out and allows, it starts to arch the opposite way. And then you get down to your start of your mid-low back, and then it goes in again, and then your sacrum pushes out, okay? So these are all natural curves in your body, and we want them, but sometimes we get them too much. And what we're looking for in all parts of our body is balance, okay? So that's the one key thing I want you to be aware of, is like, how do we make these curves all flow with balance, okay? So go ahead and bring your hand to that C7, T1, where it starts to bump up. So you got the in, and then there's gonna be an area that bumps up. For many of us, that area is becoming too big of a bump. And the reason why is because we've got this forward head tilt where we're looking down a lot of the time. So what I want you to do here is I want you to bring your chin forward and notice in that space if you feel anything move or get exaggerated in that outward curve, okay? So you push your head back, and then I want you to chin tuck just a little bit and see if you notice a difference as you go back and forth. And usually for most of us, again, as you bring your chin forward, it's going to bump more of an arch. And we want a little bit of an arch, but we don't want to accentuate it. And then as you chin tuck, it should slightly level it out or not be so much of a bump. So just doing that a couple times. And then dropping the hand. Letting your shoulders drop. And taking a nice deep breath into the belly and maybe closing the eyes. And as you exhale, letting the shoulders drop here. Do that again. Breath in your shoulders. Tops of your shoulders might move up a little bit. And as you exhale, let them drop. You got 2 more of those to go. And again. Good. And so again, we're going to let our chin come forward. Maybe you notice a little bit of pull on the tops of the shoulders. And then bring your chin way far back. So you chin tuck it. It's like you're trying to give yourself 3 chins. And then you push it out again and go back. And we want to remember that we're not always looking to have it just perfect. Your body should be able to do all the things. But sometimes we're just stuck in one pattern. So we start to ask for something else. So one more time, chin tuck. Drop those shoulders. Let yourself push through the crown of the head. Okay? So as you're there, you're not pushing forward. You're not chin tucking way back, but there's this in-between place. And then as you push through the crown of the head, things get longer and you get space of freedom in your vertebrae. That's what we want, freedom in that vertebrae. And then go ahead and start to track. So sternum in the middle of your chest. You start to look to the right. And then notice how sometimes we'll invite you to look way far back. Today, I want you just to track your head with your sternum for a little bit. So head doesn't get to go further. And then come back to neutral. And then we want to keep our navel and our belly in one place, which includes our low back. And then turn just the sternum to the left. And so notice how these are really small movements. And you're just going to keep on turning your upper back, your rib cage, side to side. Trying to keep your belly still and just the upper vertebrae moving. Okay, so do that one more time. Just back and forth, seeing if you can keep your belly still and feel your ribs move and the head just kind of tracks. It doesn't go way far back. It just goes with the ribs. And see if this last one you can go a little bit further, allowing the sternum to move a little bit further, but the belly stays forward. And then last time to the last side here. Whichever side you're on is perfect. And then come back to center. Okay? So in your mind's eye, maybe your eyes are closed, you visualize that inward arch of your neck and then a little bit of a bump out that starts your thoracic spine. And then you're going to move into cat-cow. So belly forward, chest forward. Maybe you look up just a little bit, or instead of looking up, I want you to drop your chin down just slightly and chin tuck again. And then look up. And then look down just slightly, chin tuck. And look up. Look down just slightly, chin tuck, and now round into your cat position. Round, round, round. And then visualize in your mind's eye that area that we looked at, rounding. And then as you move forward, belly comes forward, chest comes forward, chin might go forward, but then we're going to chin tuck it just a little bit, and then start to look up a little bit. Soften the tops of the shoulders. So go back and forth a few times here, just getting into your cat-cow. But now you've got this idea of what that vertebrae in your mind looks like. And can you really open it up and build space and freedom in it? And the breath helps so much do that. And last one. And don't worry about it being perfect. perfect or a chin tuck. Just find freedom and fluidity in your spine. And then come back to center here. We're going to keep our belly towards the front, and I'm going to put my hand on my belly just so that I can feel. And then I'm going to turn my rib cage and my right arm to the back here. And I'm going to see what happens in my belly. So I'm going to try to turn my ribs as much as possible. Open up through the right head of the arm bone and start to look past or look over my right shoulder. But I'm also actively noticing like how much is my belly twisting to that side. Now go ahead and let the belly twist. So let it twist to the right. Maybe left hand comes to the knee. We really get into that low back. And here just noticing we're inviting the whole spine to move before we were just asking the upper back to move. Stay here for one more breath. And as you exhale, come back to center. Before we go to the other side, we'll get just a fluid cat-cow, belly forward, chest forward. Maybe looking on up or keeping the chin down feels more freedom for you. And then rounding, really getting into that upper back, really offering up a deep round. Inhale, allow yourself to come to neutral. I'm going to place my hand on my belly. If you want to, you sure can, but not required. And then we're going to start to turn to that left, trying to keep the navel towards the front. Maybe the left hand comes a little bit back behind us, and we start to look past that left shoulder. And then take a nice deep breath in, noticing that you're just moving your upper back here. And then as you exhale, let the navel turn towards that left and get some big twist in the whole vertebrae here to the left. We'll stay here for a nice deep breath in. And big exhale back to center. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and find our way onto all fours. Settled, I do want you to grab your blocks and just have them as a little extra bonus here for your hands. So they could be the lowest level or a little bit higher. You can kind of play with it because the blocks are going to allow us to feel a little bit different in this C-7, T-1 and 2 area we're playing with. So you're up a little bit higher, and then you're going to melt your heart. And then you're going to push into the blocks and round. Okay, so as you melt your heart, maybe you start to open up the chin a little bit, seeing about like feeling out. See if you can feel that area we're working on today, moving as you go back to your cat and cows. And we're trying to keep the arms on the straighter side. Don't worry so much about the tail and the bump. They might move, but your attention is at your upper spine, and especially that connection of the shoulders and the neck. See if you can get a little bit deeper with the heart melt and the rounding. Good. And then if you like that idea, if you're feeling like you can get deeper with the blocks, you can stay there. Or if you want to play without the blocks, just seeing how what we normally do, like how does it feel? Is it really different in your body? Or does it feel the same? And if the brain gets worn out and it says, I don't know, then just come to your breath and remember we're just just doing yoga, movement, union of the body and the mind, if you will. Good, and then pause at tabletop here. Kick back. Let's actually start with the arms here. So we're going to take our left arm forward, bring our palm towards the midline here. And then I want you to imagine not worrying about the hand, but looking down at the ground and pushing through the crown of the head. And I want you to imagine as if that reach, that push out could start right there where the neck and the shoulders meet. Then once you get a little bit of like that headbutt action, reach through your fingertips. And then you can decide if you're going to reach back with your left leg. Or right leg, sorry. That would be really hard. Good. Opposite. Perfect. You're looking down at the ground. You're pushing through the crown of the head. Like a turtle coming out of its shell. You're imagining length growing through that space that I showed you. And then come on down with hand and knee. And we'll come into child's pose here, reaching and walking those hands out in front of us. And then maybe you kind of turn your forehead's probably on the mat. And maybe you just kind of turn the forehead side to side, just a little bit. And as you do that, maybe you kind of feel that area in the back of your neck moving a little bit. Or just pretending. Maybe the hands walk a little bit further towards the front of the mat. And you might lift the head, keep looking down at the mat, head butt through the crown of the head, or kind of turn your head side to side, imagining that turtle's head coming out of the shell, getting longer in that space from the upper shoulders to the low neck, and then dropping the head, the forehead on the ground once again. Softening the space of the armpits. And taking a nice deep breath in, nourishing that space, or imagining all that breath going to that upper back, and fully letting that breath all the way out. And on your next inhale, go ahead and come on up to all fours. Settle yourself in. Look down at your mat. I believe we're on our right side now, so we're going to have the hand reach first. Look down at your mat. Push through the crown of the head. Imagine getting a little bit longer through that upper back space. Reach through the fingertips, and then take left or opposite leg back. Keep looking down at that mat, imagining length growing from that upper back space to the crown of the head, and then length growing from that space to your heel. How long can you get? And then come on down. And come into your child's pose. Dropping head. Allowing things to settle, and then right away find that length. Maybe you lift your head a little bit and you ask for just a little bit longer in that upper back. And then from there, once you get there, go ahead and walk your hands just to the right side of your mat. And then can you find a little bit more length in the left side of your neck? And then the right side of your neck, imagine it growing a little bit longer. Maybe you lift your head and just kind of turn it side to side a little bit, imagining things growing, and then place the head on down. And imagine from that upper back area down to your tail, this nice long length with just a little bit of a curve that's happening because we're slightly turned. On your next breath in, find yourself back at center. And then pause there, and then wait for your next breath in and start to walk those hands over to the left. And then maybe lifting the head just a little bit and turning it, getting that right side of the neck just a little bit longer. And that left side grows just a tiny bit longer, and then you drop the head once again. And that space from your upper back down to your heels grows long, or you just imagine it getting space. On your next inhale, coming back to center. Allowing yourself to come on up to all fours here. We'll stack our hands right underneath our shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And then you're going to walk your hands a little bit more towards the front top of the mat, or if it works better for you to take your knees a little bit farther back, that's great. There's just more space between your hands and your knees. Then you're going to allow the chest or the weight of your body to come a little bit forward. And now walk your hands over to the right side. So you've got some length between hands and knees, and then walk over to the right. And then here, start to melt your heart, and then round that back. So a little bit of cat-cows in this slightly turned position. And really thinking about how much can we melt the heart with straightish arms, and how much we can push the mat away with straight arms. And some days I like to just keep my head in line with the spine, and then other days it just feels really freeing if I add the head. So getting into that subtle body, what works best for you to get length? You might end up walking a little bit further to the right. It really depends. Where do you find freedom? Where do you find that place in your body that feels like, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to get into? And allowing yourself to come back to center. Taking a pause at center, making sure you still feel long through that spine and free. Then we'll walk our hands over to the left side. Start with your little cat-cows, melting heart, pushing hands into the mat and rounding. Really visualizing or embodying that space right at the lowest parts of your neck, highest parts of your shoulder. What's happening there as you move? And then maybe you walk a little bit further, or you do less, because maybe less some days feels more free. Still a few cat-cows. Depends on if you want to move your head too. Good. Coming back to center we go. Finding now our blocks. And we'll get our blocks kind of stacked on up high, and then we'll end up with the right foot in between. Good. Once you arrive there, We could stay there, just growing elongation from the crown of the head to the tail, especially in that space we're working on. Or you could start to come on up. From here, we're going to keep our right hand on our leg, and we're going to start to reach our left arm forward here. So as you reach forward, kind of noticing like what happens. We grow through the arm, and usually this area has to kind of pinches off just slightly. So I'm going to keep my arm straight, but I'm going to draw myself, the head of the arm bone, back in space. And you can play with that a few times, just kind of noticing. And again, it doesn't have to be a lot, especially if it's pinching, but just noticing how out here is kind of vulnerable, especially if we were to close a window or something. But back here is nice and strong, it's stable. So just doing that a couple times, a reach and a connecting into your shoulder blade. Good. And then from here, instead of way out, we're going to connect in just slightly, no pinching, and then start to bring that arm up overhead. Try not to turn everything, especially the belly, but let the arm draw back. So you might have your navel still pointed to the front of the mat, and the arm and the upper back is doing all the work. And that even here is diving into that space, even though you don't feel it so much. We're moving all those muscles connected to it. And you'll do 2 more of those, just opening, finding freedom in that upper spine. Good. And it's like you're moving through water, right? You could do this just nonchalantly, or you could really get into it. And then go ahead and pause, bring both hands to the knees. Look out straight out in front of you. Maybe close the eyes if you feel balanced enough. We're going to take a deep breath into the belly. And as you exhale, just feel those shoulders dropping away from the ears. One more time, breath in. Breath out, shoulders dropping away from the ears. On your next inhale, we're going to bring our right arm out to the side. My navel, again, is still pointing to the front. And then I'm going to start to take my right hand back behind me. My head is going to start to track, but it's not going to kink way far back. So my head could be in line with my sternum or in line with my right hand. Then you're going to keep that navel to the front and see if you can twist your upper back. Back, back, back. See how far it will go without the whole body turning. Okay, so navel tries to stay forward, and then you open up. And then you might be out here, you might be way far back, but navel forward, ribs open and turn. See where the head wants to be right now, that you can find freedom. One more breath. Letting that breath all the way out, bringing the hand to the leg. We'll unwind ourselves here. And let's go ahead and find ourselves in child's pose, just to get ourselves off of those knees well in a different way, right? So allowing yourself just to come into child's pose and take a little break, a little breather. Two options here to just allow yourself to breathe. To not worry about all the little details I'm adding in, or if it really allows your mind to concentrate on a focus, something other than what's happening off your mat, then allow yourself to pick the head up a little bit and grow it longer, and then set it down. Two more breaths here. You're going to come on up to all fours. We're all going to meet with maybe our blocks. Left foot is definitely going to be out in front. And we'll all meet with the hands on the knee, or if you decide to keep the hands on the block, looking down at your mat and just growing out of there. That's perfect too. Okay, so here we are, our knees pointed to the front, our toes are pointed to the front, our navel's pointed to the front. And then we're going to start to bring the right arm out to the side, noticing our navel still pointing to the front. And then you're going to start to open up back behind you, and the head's going to start to track. But the navel still points to the front. And then, however direction you want to go, I'm going to choose to go up, over, down. Now this feels totally different on this side, and I can't tell if it's because I directed you differently or it's just different. But I kind of notice we're just swinging the arm around. Again, we're asking for dynamic motion in a way that you're moving through water in a sense. So navel still pointed to the front, ribs open to that right side. Head's in a place so you can just find freedom. Treading through some moving water, getting into all those dark places. It might be hiding, feeling like it's coming from that upper back. And then go ahead and return both hands to the knees. Navel stays forward, chest starts to turn towards the left. Left hand goes out to the side. Keep your awareness on your navel and then start to open on up as much as you can to that left. Start to gaze and turn, but again, your awareness is where's freedom and where's navel to the front of the mat. Ribs are asking for the twist here. Okay, can you go a little bit deeper, maybe by pressing your right hand into that knee, keeping the navel towards the front and asking for just a little bit more, but shoulders are soft. Head finds freedom. Unwinding yourself. Hand back to the knee. Coming back to all fours. And find some cat-cows here. Just allowing yourself to explore that upper back. Each vertebrae moving separately from the other. So you might imagine somebody starting with their finger at your low back, and you start to rock and move that low back. And you imagine you know exactly where each vertebrae is at. And you play with this idea of how could I move that individually? And you slowly bring your awareness up your spine. And then pause when your awareness gets to that area I showed you, right at your T1, thoracic vertebrae 1 and 2, and then your knee C-7, and play with that space and see if you can get them all to not just move as one chunk, but imagine them moving separately on their own. Go ahead and take our knees apart wide. Kiss our toes together. Drop our heels back towards our booty towards our heels. And then walk those hands out in front here. You're going to take your hands together, drop your forehead to the mat. Find length in your head, so you kind of wiggle it around, maybe lift it a little bit and drop it. And then start to bring your thumbs towards your shoulder blades or towards that space I showed you. And then if that feels like it gets longer in your triceps, the backs of your arms, you could stay there. Or you could walk your elbows a little bit forward towards the top of your mat. You might be able to grow length in your cervical spine, your neck again, and then drop the thumbs towards the upper back. On your next inhale, we'll come on up to all fours, and we'll find our way on up to standing here. We'll bring our block along the way. And once you get up there, you're going to be probably more towards the front of your mat, but we're going to come into eagle. So we're going to end up with a block on our left side so that we don't have to worry so much about balance, so we can work on our upper back, okay? But we'll still get into the pose. So we're going to well, first off, we have to decide if this feels like too much balance. We're going to bring ourselves to a wall and then find the block there, okay? But if you feel confident where you're at in your space, you're going to cross your right foot over and bring it onto the block. Start there, okay? So you might end up bending into your standing knee a little bit and allowing the upper thighs to kind of cross, but that's less of what we're concerned with today at least. Here's our balance, we're nice and long. Then you're going to take your arms out to eagle or out to the side. And then take your arms back behind you, letting your chest kind of puff up. And then on your next exhale, cross your right arm under, left arm over, and give yourself this big, huge bear hug. From there, you might walk your hands more towards your shoulder blades. And then you might have your elbows kind of coming towards each other, okay? You're just asking for something today. And the body might be really awake and you can go really far, or it might be like the Tin Man, you decide. And then from here, we're going to lift our elbows just slightly, maybe look up just slightly. And then as you exhale, you're going to bring your elbows towards your chest and bow. And then open up, lift your elbows, maybe look up. And exhale, bow. Now see if you can really round into your upper back as much as possible. And then can you get length first as you come out, and then maybe bring elbows up and maybe look up. The last two, maybe you decide to go a little bit further, coming more back of hands towards each other. That's going to ask for some muscular strength. And then you could go into bowing and opening. Your choice. You got one more to go both ways. Take that really rounding in the spine and that opposite action of arching and opening. Whatever form you're in is perfect as long as you're feeling this in your upper back. Great job with the balance. Back to center you go. Let's bring our arms out to the side. Open up, palms back, chest puffs. Look out at the horizon. And on your next exhale, drop those hands. Unwind. Maybe shake those arms out. the opposite side. Good. And then you'll take the left foot and cross it over the right. Make sure, again, each side's going to be different. Usually we have a stronger leg, so if we need to go closer to the wall for stability, that allows us to get into our upper back more than do it, all right? So eagle arms again, out to the side, puff chest, maybe look up. Then we're going to cross the left arm under, right arm over, full bear hug, big squeeze. As you do that, maybe your hands start to walk a little bit closer towards your spine. You're like, imagining you're going past the shoulder blades and towards the spine. You're getting such a big hug. From there, you could start to lift the elbows and drop them down with that connection with your breath. Or right away, you could bring the back of the hands towards each other, noticing how I'm not inviting you to clasp because I'm asking you for muscular strength, bringing the hands, back of hands towards each other, and then keeping that invitation to bring back the hands towards each other and getting into this big rounding and this big arching. Keep that muscular strength, the back of hands towards each other. Really get into that arching and rounding of the upper back and see if you can feel that lowest parts of your cervical spine, highest parts of your thoracic spine, moving and opening. Last one, make it count. Good, and then we're going to unwind, big eagle arms, reach out to the side, puff the chest, and a nice exhale, drop the arms. Good job. That's all we're going to do there, so we'll end up on our backs. Okay, arrive onto your back here. And then from here, we'll have our feet on the mat, our feet close to our pelvis, and we try. This is just an attempt to get the heels right underneath our knees. Feet are at least hip distance apart. And then we're going to bring our upper arms right next to our body. So hugging them in, palms are going to face towards your pelvis. And then you're going to bend your elbows to 90 degrees and your fingertips are now going to be pointed up to the sky. Keep your upper arms hugged into your side and then see about pushing your upper arms into the mat. So they're hugged in and then you're pushing the upper arms into the mat. Push them back into the mat, let's say about 30%, 40% of your strength, and see if you can kind of puff and lift your chest slightly. And then as you exhale, let your heart melt back down as if, again, you're still doing cat-cow. So as you breathe in, your heart lifts and you get a little bit of extra because you're pushing your upper arms into the mat. And then as you exhale, there's this dropping of your upper back into the mat. And there's a push of your upper arms in, lifting chest. And as you exhale, let your upper back push down into the mat. So it's really small cat-cow here in your upper back. And your head can just stay. And your upper body moves. Use the strength of your upper arms to do the work. Let your head just be heavy. Now, next time you push your arms back into the mat and lift your heart, push down through your feet. See if it's okay to come into a bridge pose. Thinking about your heart being the thing that leads the way, less concerned about your legs. And then as you exhale, melting the upper back down into the mat, softening those arms, dropping your pelvis. So it's a push down of the upper arms, elbows, lift heart to the sky, maybe lift pelvis. And then as you exhale, letting your upper back drop, then your pelvis drops down. 3 more times like that, getting into that space of that upper back, low neck. The throat is free. No extra pinching needed. Find fluidity. One more time. Once you're down, go ahead and end up with the knees into the chest. Hug the knees in. And then they sway side to side. Let your head also track side to side. Doesn't need to be a big force, it's just freedom for the head to roam. Coming back to center, allowing the feet to come back to the mat. Letting the arms go out to T position, so you might have to get your props out of the way. And arms out to T position, palms up. From here, you're going to take your right leg long. You can walk your left foot a little bit close to the right knee, or you can lift that left toe and bring it to the right knee. From here, for today, we're going to invite the upper shoulders to stay. So I want you to take awareness to your left shoulder and invite it to just stay heavy. Keeping your awareness there, start to take your left knee over to the right. So it's not going to be as much as you normally go, because we're going to invite this left shoulder to stay. And then breath in, you're going to bring your knee back up to center. And breath out, you're going to start to rotate a little bit to that right side. We're keeping our upper back stable. We're moving our lower back. If this is too much for your body, then you can let the left shoulder pop up, okay? But if it feels all right just to rock back and forth with your knee, then do that a couple more times. Doesn't have to be an extreme amount. Left shoulder's heavy. Last one here, and then you're going to let your left shoulder do whatever it wants and take your right knee as far, or your top knee, your left knee, as far as you want over to the right side. So you're going to twist as much as you want to the right. Pausing there, dropping your left shoulder. Take your gaze to the right hand, and then visualize in your mind's eye that space, the upper back, lowest part of your neck. And as you start to turn your head towards the sky, imagine that rotation, that movement in that upper spine. Going side to side, getting full mobility in that space as you turn your head to the right and then up to the sky, or something along those lines, just imagining freedom in that space. freedom in that space, and you might end up turning your head to the left. Keep rocking it. Two more times. On your next inhale, wait for it, come back to center. Allowing both feet to come to the mat. Hands by the sides of your body, palms down. Push down through your feet, lift your hips on up. Maybe a little, maybe a lot, depends on where you want to go. Maybe you go up so high that you feel your shoulder blades, the lowest parts of your shoulder blades come off of the mat. You kind of notice this arch in that space we've been talking about. Soft through the throat. And roll yourself one vertebrae at a time on down. Once you're down, push down through the feet, lift yourself on up. Maybe it's a little more, maybe it's less. Keep that nice long upper cervical spine, nice long neck, soft through the throat and the chin. Head's heavy. Come on up as much as you want, and then we'll roll one vertebrae at a time down. Got one more of those to go. It can be a little or a lot. Just noticing that upper back, soft through the throat, jaw. Once you're down, pause. We'll end up with our arms back to our T position. Palms up. Now we've got left leg to go long. Right toe, right foot can come close to the left knee, or it can come up. And right toe could be on left knee. Keeping the right shoulder on the ground. Start to take that bent knee over to the left. It can just be a tiny bit. Test the waters. Keep your right shoulder relaxed on the mat. When it starts to pop up, come back to center with your knee. Find that connection with your breath. Maybe as you inhale, you come back to center. As you exhale, you slightly twist. Next time you come to center, let your arms do whatever they're going to do. And you're going to lift that bent knee all the way over to the left. And you're going to allow your right shoulder to do whatever it wants to. It might lift off of the ground. And then your gaze might end up being to the left. And you can rock your head up to the sky, and over to the left a few times. Visualizing that upper back, low part of the neck rotating, finding fluidity. feel really open, and you end up taking your gaze over to the right, and then the ceiling, and then the left. Rocking the head side to side, and in any way feels freeing. Pausing back to center, head up to the sky, hands by the sides, feet on the mat. We'll get ourselves readjusted by pushing down through our feet, lifting our hips. Again, it can be a little or a lot. We're just going to allow ourselves to come on down and feel balanced and long through our spine. So both sides of our pelvis become balanced. Maybe taking the legs long for our Shavasana. My favorite is having the feet as wide as the mat with my knees bent and dropping those knees in, or getting something underneath the knees. Okay, so allow yourself to find a Shavasana that's going to work for your body. Maybe a blanket's needed. Option here to take a hold of the head. So I've just got my fingertips kind of clasped at the back of the head. Allow my hands to lift my head and get longer through the head and neck, and then allow it to drop on down to the mat, nice and balanced. Those hands can go wherever you feel the most content. And we'll settle on into our Shavasana, into our quiet space. to deepen the breath. And as you deepen the breath, imagine that breath going to the upper part of your back, the lowest part of your spine. Upper part of your back, lowest part of your cervical spine. And just adding this lightness into that space, this awareness into that space. And even with our breath, we can add fluidity and more micro movements into the space. And one more nice deep breath in. And full breath out, allowing the head to just be really heavy. Re-adding in a little bit of movement into the hands. Maybe you start to move the arms or elbows or anything that just feels like it comes to you. Maybe you feel like just being still. We'll pause with that motion and allow ourselves to roll over to the side. And make our way on up to seated. Just having that invitation to stay wherever you're at in your practice if it feels soothing to you. Find that seated position that works, that we can feel tall. And we're going to bring both of our fingertips to that space we've been talking about, highest part of your shoulders, upper back, lowest part of your neck, right where they connect. And then just give a gentle press into the skin or the clothing material maybe. And then this little bit of a drag up. So it's just a push in, a little bit of drag up. And then push through the crown of the head. And you might track your fingers up your neck all the way to your occiput. Imagining the cervical spine getting even longer. You might stop at that connection of head and neck, or you might just track all the way through the hair, through the head, on up. And allowing the hands to drop. Finding a place that works for your body. Maybe a heart center it is. Taking this moment to appreciate that you came into your body. You became more aware of just a tiny little space in your body. Drawing ourselves into a meditation of our body, a focus of our body. Thank you for joining me today. Namaste. Yeah, thanks for being here.
I think that might just be a little bit taller.
A little taller. Good, good, good. Have a lovely day, you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Kristi.
Thank you, Kristi.
Yes.
That was wonderful.
Good, good, good.